I believe we all have a story to tell, and it's important to let yours be known. After discovering a tumor in her brain, Cheyenne was suddenly forced into a reality most people can't even imagine. In this episode, we're talking about something terrifying, surreal, and deeply human. 3 brain surgeries, the uncomfortable discussion of mortality, and what happens when someone's entire life changes overnight. What does it feel like when your body turns against you? How do you cope when life splits into a before and after? Tonight, we have that conversation. This is The Other Side, Light and Darkness. Welcome back to The Other Side, Light and Darkness. We're here today with
Cheyenne Dorsano.
Awesome. Before we get really started, do you want to explain to the audience why you're here today in a brief summary of your story before we really unpack it?
Gosh, I don't know how to be brief with my story. I will say I'm here because I've been following your web series, and I think it's really cool the stories of resilience you've been showing. And I don't get a lot of opportunities to talk about my health struggles because a lot of times there's just not a space for it. People don't want to hear it.
That's why I'm here. I want to hear it.
Yeah, when you put out the call to invite people to come and tell their story, I don't know what came over me. I don't know who I thought I was. I was like, hey, yeah, I'll do it. And you actually were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just do?
Right.
But no, I think it's a good thing. So the most brief way I can put it is that I had a brain tumor. I had 2 craniotomies, and then I had, well, somewhere in there in between the 2 craniotomies, I also had a brain hemorrhage. And after the second craniotomy, I became disabled. So I've had physical therapy and stuff since then. And, it was just a very transformative experience.
I'm excited to unpack this because I think, disability awareness and just your experience, as unique it probably feels to the person it's happening to. Like, I feel there's definitely people out there who can relate. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, that's what the series is all about. Is like, I thought it was just me. No, it's not. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but yeah, so before all of this happened, before we get into the nitty and gritty, what was your life like before?
What's kind of crazy is before this happened, I was very much in a routine. Like, I had a job that wasn't really the job I envisioned for myself after I got out of college. I was working at a disability resource center. I was in a long term relationship. So, yeah, I was very much in a routine and I was going through the motions, and there wasn't necessarily a lot of direction and reassurance of myself about what I was doing.
Right.
I first found out about my brain tumor when I was probably 25, or maybe I was 24 going on 25, but it was 2020 during COVID times. And then it progressed over a few years. So when I turned 27, this I actually do remember because I turned 27 while I was in the hospital.
Wow.
And that was when I was recovering from my second craniotomy. So yeah, probably like the end of being 24 into the beginning of being 27 was like the thick of it.
So it's been about like 6 years you've been kind of dealing with this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I'm 30 now, by the way.
if you can't do the math.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I've been recovering since then, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. I guess we'll get to the section,
The meaty part,
the
yeah.
meaty part.
Yeah.
Fun is over.
Yeah.
So do you remember the first moment something didn't feel right in your body?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so it's so wild to put this in perspective because we lived through history, right, with COVID. So I got COVID and I was having a lot of weird symptoms because, they're kind of random for everybody. And one of the most prominent symptoms was vertigo. So I had vertigo, and, I went through the cycle. A couple of weeks had passed and the vertigo didn't go away. The best way I could describe it is it felt like I was drunk. Like, my vision was
Right.
wobbly. I was unbalanced. It was hard to walk. So at first I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. I'm just like feeling drunk all the time, kind of. But then it got a little scary. I was like, this is weird. It's not going away. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna go to the ER and start looking at this further. But I had no clue what was going on. I was like, because COVID, it's still kind of mysterious. And
Right.
since then, what really stood out to me is people have said like COVID has brought out a lot of conditions that people had that they didn't realize were there, which is
Hmm.
basically what happened to me. And I didn't have the perspective at that time, but I don't know. I didn't know what to think. This was like, oh,
Right.
COVID's new. This is so weird.
Yeah, did you so you went to the hospital and what did they tell you? What
We did a bunch of tests and they were like, okay, well, maybe you just have vertigo. Like I was taking the test, and you know how it is when you go to the hospital, they don't ever want to comment on the tests while they're happening.
Right.
They wait until they get all the information. But I could tell, I was like, all right, these tests aren't making sense to them.
Right.
They brought me into that scary back room, which still it hadn't hit me at that point that there was like news, you know. And a guy came in, and he was very nice. Like I remember this guy because he came in, he was appropriately somber. But as soon as he came in, I saw that he had that sad look on his face. I was like, oh no, he's got something bad to tell me.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, so we found a tumor in your head. And I don't know about you, but back then when I hear tumor, I think cancer.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I have cancer in my head. But it turns out tumor is much more vague than that. Tumor basically just means like a mass. So he's like, we found something in your head. And they didn't know what it was yet. So they were like, you're going to have to follow up with a neurologist. I mean, at first I was just shocked. And I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how I would process that. Like I think I would just be frozen, like dissociative. Yeah, so
Yeah.
how were you feeling?
Yeah, no, at first I just kind of I don't know, was stunned. And then it wasn't probably till the next day where I was like, okay, well, I have to like write my will, you know, and then I was
Yeah.
like, this is it for me.
What was that like? Because I definitely so I as people are finding out about the series, as I put a little bit of myself in each episode, I had a hard life growing up, was suicidal, but now I very much treasure life. So the concept of dying is like the scariest thing ever to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even like to think about it. So meeting people who had to grapple with this could happen very soon,
Mm-hmm.
what is that like?
That's a huge question. I could spend all night just talking about that because ever since this happened to me, I've become very fascinated with death and like just coping with that. I don't remember who, but there's a philosopher that said you live two lives, and the first life is before you realize you're gonna die, and the second life is after you realize you're gonna die.
Oh,
And of
interesting.
course, you know, I mean, I was an adult, so I knew I was gonna die one day, but it never had really set in.
Yeah.
So then when I got this mysterious diagnosis, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And it was obviously it was really sad because I was thinking about my friends, my family, all the people I would be leaving behind, and all the things I hadn't done with my life yet because I was so young, and I'm still young. So yeah, I don't know. It was just so overwhelming, feeling like I'm gonna lose so much, and I felt like this weird guilt because I was like, oh well, everyone's gonna be in pain over this, you know, like
Oh,
everyone
wow.
around me. So yeah, it was really overwhelming, and now, and like I've become so much more aware of the fact that people don't like to think about it or talk about it,
Yeah.
and I totally get that. That's just self-preservation. But once you really realize you're gonna die, it will change your whole life. And like my
Yeah.
whole life is different now since then because it just makes you prioritize things differently,
Yeah.
makes you be truer to yourself.
Wow.
But I mean, ultimately, it was awful. It was scary, but now I would say it was for the best.
It's for the best to have that perspective. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just said, like the fear of death a lot of people grab. I'm definitely someone I
Yeah.
think it's probably because I was obsessed with it as a teenager, wanting it to happen. Now it's like
Yeah.
I wasted a lot of time and now I feel like I'm playing catch up in a way, to
Mm-hmm.
live a life worth living and
Yeah.
yeah, so
It's funny you say like when you were a teenager because I probably was fascinated with death as a kid, but more so in like an emo, edgy kind of way, not like in a really like sincere way. But yeah, no, it's like
wow.
once it really hits you in that real way, it's totally different. So yeah, I would just encourage everyone to when you're in the headspace to
Just
face it, I would encourage them to think about it.
Yeah. What do you think that they would gain from that?
I think, honestly, because like I said, we're all gonna die one day, and hopefully in a very brief way.
All right, this is
Hopefully
gonna
it's
make
quick,
so
quick and
many people
painless.
uncomfortable, and
Yeah, I
I'm kind of
know.
excited though.
I
Let's
know.
make people
I
uncomfortable.
know. I have made a lot of people uncomfortable because I've I've started talking about it a lot more, and I've just seen how people like recoil from it. But even though like hopefully one day when we have our quick painless death, it's such a poignant moment, and you're like, it's kind of like you're getting audited for your life, and you're doing the auditing, and you're like, oh my god, am I happy with the life I've lived? And it's so powerful. So yeah, I think if people thought about it now, they would be more so in preparation for that very poignant moment of like, do I feel happy with the life that I've lived? And I think it would help people be truer to themselves while they're living, because they'll prioritize things better, whatever values they have.
Absolutely. Wow. How much space was in between you finding out you had the mass and actually seeing a neurologist?
It felt like forever. I don't remember the timeline exactly. Let's just say it was like a couple weeks, maybe.
I bet that felt like a year, though.
It did. It felt like a long time. It was a lot of time to sort of consider all of the different things that could happen. But I mean, at first they dealt with me with decent priority, and then once I saw the neurologist, they didn't necessarily treat me with the most priority once they understood like what kind of tumor I had, and they were like, I could wait a little while. But I was still having like those vertigo symptoms. Hard to forget that you're having a problem when the symptom is just there all the time,
Right.
making itself known.
Do you still have vertigo, or?
I don't. Thankfully, I don't. I have been disabled from my second surgery. I do have like issues with my disability, so there's still that same like reminder and that struggle of the way my body is now. But thankfully, no, not the vertigo, because that was kind of inconvenient.
Right, just a little. But so you see this neurologist, you see a few, and what is the next step from there?
Well, they're like, we have to take it out. You have to get brain surgery, which is, I mean, look, I'm not here to do the tragedy Olympics or anything, but I was like, well, that's the scariest thing I could think of, because your brain is who you are. But yeah, that was the next step. Is we have to go in. There's no like, not a gross way to put it, but we have to scoop out the tumor and see what happens from there. And that was another thing. It's like, they're like, we don't know how your body is going to react after we do this. I remember my family being like, do you have to get surgery? And I was like, I think so. My body's kind of crying for help right now. So yeah, that was the next step, was getting the surgery and just getting it removed, just trying to recalibrate from there.
Okay. So I'm just trying to think. So like, did you feel any symptoms of vertigo before COVID or anything? Anything that you felt could have been wrong? So did COVID save your life in a way?
Yes, it really did. Honestly, I think it did. It's funny you asked me that, because I've thought about that, and I'm like, I know COVID was, it's so thematic, because COVID, like, everyone was thinking about death, right? But some people were very dismissive of it, and they were like, this is a hoax, and I'm not worried about it, and blah, blah, blah. But while COVID was going on, I was having these brain issues that were really undeniable. So I was wrapping my head around that. But I do think that getting COVID, even though it brought out the condition, maybe it saved my life, because I don't know how it would have progressed if we didn't know it was there. So there's no real knowing, but I choose to believe the positive perspective that it was a good thing. Yeah.
That and contactless delivery.
Yes.
Sorry, that was bad.
No, so many benefits come out of it. Yeah,
it's so good. Thank you, COVID. You mentioned having a terrible experience with the local doctors. If you're comfortable sharing what happened there.
Yeah. Okay. So trying to find a tactful way of putting this. Basically, they were wasting my time. I felt like I was going to appointments, and they clearly were going through their own thing, because I always have to remember, this is one of the craziest things. Doctors are human beings, and I think that we forget that sometimes.
Right.
But I was going to the office, and the office, I think, was just kind of like having a time, like they were having their own things that were going on behind the scenes, and it was becoming obvious that they weren't very organized.
This is
And
during COVID, right?
yeah,
So,
I think they had, I mean, I can only say rumors I heard, but they were just having personal issues. And so they were very disorganized. And I didn't think they had a good, even though they were never at my bedside. It never got that far. But they didn't have good bedside manner. I didn't think that they were the most comforting or polite while I was going through this difficult time. And eventually it came to be that they said that they were going to call in a doctor from Syracuse, which I appreciated that they were like owning up to, like, okay, I don't think we're equipped to do this. But I had some mixed feelings about that. Number one, I was annoyed because we had so many appointments, and I was like, okay, so now I'm gonna meet another new person. There's another step. So I just got fed up and I stopped seeing them. But also I was like, okay, so it made me look nervous because, like, okay, they don't feel equipped to do this and they have to call someone else. I appreciate them having the self-awareness and caring about me enough to do that, but it was also a little scary. So kind of mixed feelings with that. But yeah, ultimately we weren't vibing.
right.
It was very disorganized. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go back to Binghamton and see the other doctor, because he was very nice and very charismatic, and he seemed confident, like he knew what he was doing. And I think Binghamton is regarded as a more medically advanced area.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go back to Binghamton. That wasn't really what I wanted, because I just wanted to have surgery close to home just because it felt safer.
So, after your first surgery and you woke up, what were you feeling initially?
I was, of course, tired. And my first doctor, he was so nice. He came in, he held my hand, and he was like, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm okay. So I just felt very cared for by him. And then my boyfriend at the time, he was there. So I was happy he was there. And I got a video call from one of my best friends, Natalie. And I felt very emotional because I could see her. And oh gosh, I was just happy to see her. And this is kind of funny, actually. The first couple of days I was in the hospital, I had written like a list of movies I was going to watch, because I was like, I'm going to be so bored in this hospital. Right. I'm going to need to kill time. I slept the whole time. I didn't watch a single movie. And then once I finally got home, again, the timeline's blurry. It was maybe like a few days. I got home and I was so happy. I was so relieved, because I was like, oh, this is behind me. This was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. Which was, that was incorrect. It was the calm before the storm.
This might be a dumb question, but did your head hurt? Did it
no.
right here or something?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah. That was one of my questions when I went to see my neurologist. I was like, because you know how they say like bone pain is the most painful pain there is? Right. And I was like, okay, so they're going to have to like drill into my head. That sounds really painful. And so I asked the neurologist, I was like, is this going to hurt? And he was like, nah, you'll be all right. I was like, oh, so your skull, like, it doesn't have the same bone pain as other bones? And he was like, correct, it doesn't. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's good.
Well, that's good, I guess.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't that painful, no.
So they just went in there and scooped it out? It's so interesting.
It's really gnarly. Like, we think about doctors as being very meticulous and careful and clean, but no, they have to get in there. So yeah, I don't know, it's hard to imagine.
So in our little pre-interview, you mentioned waking up from a nightmare, then having a brain hemorrhage. What have you been told about that night? Because you said that you don't really remember much from it.
Yeah, it's really wild. I don't think did I tell you about the dream?
No, I don't think so. And also, how long ago, like the space between after the surgery and was this, if you recall?
This was, I don't remember exactly. It was maybe a few days after the surgery. Very like poetically. It was Easter, and it's a holiday, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Christ is risen, I was feeling good. And so I went to bed that night, and I had a dream, and it was a very weird dream. And I know people hate hearing about dreams, but to me it's important. So in the dream, Marissa Tomei was my mother, and she was coming home at like 4 a.m. because she had been like on a date or something. And I was like mothering her, and I was like scolding her. I was like, "You shouldn't be coming home so late, Mom." She was making coffee, and I started, like, the world literally was closing in on me. And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know who I am." And she was like, nodded at me, and she was like, "Yeah, that's right. You don't know who you are." I woke up in real life, and I was like freaking out and crying. And then apparently, I didn't know this, and maybe this was on some paperwork I didn't read or whatever, but when you just had brain surgery, I guess it's bad to like be really emotional. So I felt like a split in my head. That's the best way I could describe it. It wasn't like a headache, it was like a shock. I had a brain hemorrhage. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what happened. And then it was like fade to black. You know, I was with my ex at that time, and he was asleep next to me, and he woke up with me crying. And then I grabbed my head. I was like, "Ah, fuck, my head hurts." And he called my parents immediately, and he's like, "Cheyenne needs to go to the hospital." And he looked freaked out, from what I can remember. And that's when I lose all memory. So from here, it's just hearsay. I mean, I'm sure they were honest, but I don't remember it personally. I was like walking around, I was stumbling, and I guess I didn't even want to go to the hospital, which is insane. I was like, "Nah, I'm okay." It's totally not okay at all. I didn't even put my shoes on, and we went to the hospital, and I was just like screaming in pain, I guess. And eventually someone came and saw me. At first they didn't want to treat me because I had the surgery in Binghamton, so I think it was like a liability issue.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, "Well, you need to go back to Binghamton," which is like a 2-hour ride away.
Yeah.
And like my dad was like, "No, absolutely not." And I guess I like passed out, and like my lips were purple. He said, like, I looked like I was about to die. And there was a different doctor in the hospital. Even he was like, "This is insane." So he called the doctor, Dr. Soltz. Shout out to Dr. Soltz. I don't have anything bad to say about you, so I'll name drop him. But anyway, so a doctor in the hospital called Dr. Soltz, even though it was his night off, and was like, I always want to say girl. I'm 30 now. I guess I'm a woman now.
I guess. Legal terms.
There's a girl in the hospital. She is literally going to die when you come in. And he came in on his night off. He saved my life. I don't exactly know what he did. I think he like drained the blood out of my skull, because like a hemorrhage, I think, is like a popped blood vessel.
Yeah.
And apparently blood is very bad for your brain. But apparently it's bad. So he drained the blood out of my brain. And I don't know everything that happened, but pretty much from there, like the first month that I was recovering in the hospital, I don't remember because they had me on morphine pretty much nonstop. So my memory is kind of wiped. But periodically they would come in and they would drain something called cerebrospinal fluid. So they would do like spinal taps, which is so rock and roll. I was getting spinal taps.
Oh my.
Like, I don't know how often, but they kept coming in, draining excess cerebrospinal fluid out of my body because my brain was kind of broken at that point. Because, I skipped over this. I got a brain infection, probably from when they were letting the blood out of my brain. So the blood went out, bacteria got in. I think it's called meningitis, which is a brain infection.
Oh, I've heard meningitis.
And then my brain kind of broke, and it stopped being able to absorb its own cerebrospinal fluid, which is apparently something our body is just doing all the time. Who knew? So since my brain wasn't able to do that anymore, they started coming in and doing spinal taps intermittently to take the cerebrospinal fluid out of my body.
What does it feel like knowing you almost died without fully experiencing it yourself?
You know what's funny? And I'm going to be obnoxious because, again, I read something from a different philosopher. I don't remember his name either, because why would I remember anyone's name? But he said that he was terrified of death. But then one day he got like trampled by a horse and he almost died. But he didn't remember it at all. And that like freed him of his fear of death. Because he was like, "Oh, death must not be that bad. But we're not even going to remember it.
Right.
Who cares?" So the fact that I don't remember it, I'm okay with that, because it's not really something, it's not a memory I want to have particularly.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't remember it. I didn't like see a bright light or anything like that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Did you have any white light? Did you have any like kind of like spectacle of what death could be like.
No. I mean, I don't know how close I was, but I mean, maybe I just wasn't that close, or maybe I forgot. I don't know. But yeah, no, I didn't have anything poignant in terms of me knowing I was about to die. It wasn't until like way later when people like told me the story of what happened to me that I was like, oh wow, I almost died. And it's changed my life in a lot of ways. But like I said, ultimately, I think it's for the best.
Yeah. What scared you more, the possibility of dying in that moment or the possibility of surviving and living differently? Because is your life different now? And yeah, let's explain.
That's a really good
Let's
question.
unpack that.
My life is very different now. And, I will say there are people who, like, I won't say I've spoken to, but I have heard of people being like, if my life's going to be changed, I would rather just die. Like, that is a feeling people have. I don't want to invalidate that. I personally, like, I've been afraid of what could happen, but I've never wanted to die. Like, I've always, like, valued my life. And that's not any shade on anyone that ever felt like they would rather just die. Your feelings are valid. But yeah, no, I was just more afraid of dying than anything because I felt like I have so many things I want to experience and do. It's weird to talk about it now because obviously I was thinking about myself, but now I think about it in terms of like I don't want to seem like I'm downing anyone else who's like severely disabled. But I was worried about being severely disabled, and this isn't any shade on like my family and friends because I know they would be there, but I was like, it's just not going to be the same, like I'm going to be a different person than the person that they decided to be friends with, or my boyfriend, the person that he decided he was going to date. And I was like, oh gosh, what if he leaves me? And if he leaves me, like, what are my options gonna be? So like, yeah, I was very afraid of like being alone and just like being a burden on everybody around me. And I just felt like my social life would never be the same. That was the scariest idea for me. Of course, there's also like there's the functionality of like you're worried maybe you'll be like a vegetable basically, and you'll be like in a bed your whole life. So I was really afraid of losing a lot of opportunities. But ultimately, I was like, we're going to deal with this one day at a time. No matter what, I do still want to be here. And in the back of my head, I was like, even if I do have a very different quality of life, I'm going to find something beautiful about that life no matter what.
Absolutely. It's perspective, and it's important to have that grand scope of things,
Yeah. No, I'm privileged because no matter what, I think life rocks. Like even when it sucks. Yeah. So no matter what, I felt like I'm committed to living, and even if it's gonna be really awful, like if you've seen, I'm sorry, I keep making all these references. If you've seen the movie My Left Foot, it's a really great movie, Daniel Day-Lewis. But it's based on a true story of someone who was severely disabled, but he had function over his left foot. And he was, I think, an artist, a writer. He did all these amazing things. I was thinking, no matter what happens, I'm gonna find a way to like make art and just appreciate life.
How is your life differently after? Like what? Like, are there things you can't do now because of this, or?
In a weird way, I'm grateful for the fact that I've always been very slow and uncoordinated. So like right now I am more slow and uncoordinated, but I've had a little bit of practice. I think that's been a good thing. If I had been like a track star or something, it probably would be a lot harder to cope with how different my life is now. But basically, like I'm slower, I'm more uncoordinated. And one thing I really want to stress to people is like being disabled is really tiring. Like things I used to do, it's so much easier for me to get like whooped doing them now. It was even worse like when I first got out of surgery. I remember this one day I was just making my bed, and I got so tired. Like the blanket felt so heavy. Yeah. So that's the main difference is I feel like I don't really have the energy that I used to have. Thankfully, like I said, I'm not an athlete. Most of my energy is in my head. Like I like to do things like write and stuff like that. And even when I first got out of surgery, like my brain was slower. It's some years out now, so I'm starting to come back around, and I do feel more like myself now than I did before. But for a long time, I felt so like confused and tired. And my memory, again, my memory has always been bad. So it's okay. I've had some practice with that, but my memory is worse now than it's ever been, which is hard because I feel like a lot of intelligence is kind of just like remembering things.
Right.
Like, so I feel like an idiot sometimes. But yeah, I think those are probably my biggest differences, and just feeling like, okay, like if I go here or do that, is there going to be an accessible way for me to do it? For example, just yesterday, I went wedding dress shopping. Like, I was trying on the dresses, and I went to 3 different stores. 2 of them didn't have a chair in the dressing room. And I was like, man, it would be so much easier to get this dress on if I could sit down to start putting it on. So yeah, it's just little stuff like that mostly. And since my energy isn't really the same, I don't think that I could work in a traditional office environment. But I never liked working in a traditional office environment, so it's not a huge loss for me. And becoming disabled has put me in a unique position to think about how I can work for myself on my own terms. I think that ultimately is good for me. It speaks more to who I am as a person. Of course, it's limiting. It's kind of scary thinking like, okay, well, what if I can't make this work? What if I can't run my own business and I do have to go back to a normal job? It's scary thinking about, okay, like, are they going to want to hire me? Am I going to be a difficult person to hire because I have my own terms? Or there's certain conditions that come with hiring a disabled person. Are they going to want to, is that going to be complicated for them? So those are some of the opportunities that are different.
Wow.
It's a lot to think about.
I know there is. At one point, your brain wasn't functioning properly and you needed a shunt. Explain what a shunt exactly is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I'll do my best. So there's more than one kind of shunt. I have a VP shunt. What does that mean? I don't exactly know. Thank goodness for doctors. So earlier when I was talking about how my brain kind of broke and it wasn't absorbing its own cerebral spinal fluid, and they were intermittently draining it from my spine, they were like, well, we can't keep doing this forever. We recommend you get a shunt put in your body that's going to detect when your skull's full, and it's going to do it for you automatically. It's going to drain it like from your head to your stomach. Thankfully, I don't totally notice it. I can feel it under my skin. It's like a really long tube.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what I would liken it to, but I don't know. It's like
I'll put an image.
it's like the width of like a straw, and
wow.
it goes from right here all the way down. I could feel it on my clavicle right here, and then I don't know. This is where the incision is on my body, so I guess that's where it ends up.
So it goes all the way from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. I don't know why. When we had like the little pre-interview and he said shunt, and I'm thinking it's like this big. It goes in here. That's it. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel it? Like, I know you said you kind of feel it a little bit, but when you're like walking or showering or eating.
No, I don't notice it unless I'm like if I'm washing my hair or something, I feel the bump. But as far as it doing its thing, I don't notice it, thankfully, because that would be annoying.
Yeah.
When I first got it, my body was having a very hard time adjusting to it. Like the first night, I was very nauseous and I couldn't keep anything down because I think my body was like, what's going on? And was trying to puke something up. It wasn't going anywhere. And then there was like a day, a couple weeks later, where I had severe stomach pain because, like, again, my body was like, what the heck is this? But other than that, I mean, no, you don't really notice it. If ever you have any advice for me to make this better, let me know.
No, you're killing me.
Because I do want it to be, the best outcome for both of us. This is a really heavy topic, of course, and it's like I've been anticipating speaking to you because I look forward to sort of getting this all off my chest. So I don't know, like I guess I've been putting some pressure on myself of like really wanting to do well.
Yeah, and you are. You completely are. Yeah, you're resonating. It's touching my heart.
I appreciate it.
So, what was it like realizing your body needed help doing something it's supposed to do naturally? Like, where does that leave you today?
That's a very good question. I think there is a temptation to feel like a failure to some extent. It's also wild thinking about like, well, what if I lived in the 1800s or something? What would happen to me? Like, would I
Yeah.
just be screwed? I have the same attitude towards the shunt uh, that I do towards medication. And first of all, I'm very grateful for it. I'm very lucky to be alive at this time to have this technology and to have this medicine. But there is a bit of like resentment of like being aggravated that I need it and that my body
Right.
isn't just functioning the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Like
So
it
yeah,
feels unfair, like in a way, like because when you say it, like that almost sounds like it's not fair, but it's not. It
yeah,
isn't fair, and
yeah,
it's not.
yeah. I guess not, but it's aggravating and it's also scary because me and my whole family we were on edge because there was that fear of like what if it breaks, what's gonna happen? And I kind of eventually made peace with that because I realized that like any part of your body can break. So I was like, all right, so this is a part of my body now. It can break. If it does break, I'll go to the hospital. We'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
I don't know how more or less likely it is that the shunt will break as opposed to any other part of my body. It's scary, but I got more used to it over time, and I
Yeah.
didn't think about it as much. I was thinking about it a lot at first.
It's really interesting how you basically put it that it's just like a part of my body now, like my
Mhm.
pinky, my
Mhm.
that's interesting, like how you worded that because now it's just a part of you now. It's just a part of your body.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
whatever perspective I need to have to sort of to cope with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to participate in physical therapy. Are you still in physical therapy? And what was that like?
So when I first started physical therapy, I needed help with really basic things. So when I first got out of the hospital, I left in a wheelchair. And then I graduated to a walker and then a cane and then eventually I could walk and I don't walk as well as I used to. But physical therapy, since I was in such a bad way at first, it was like walk over there and walk back. And that was my physical therapy. So it was really simple. And I was like, okay, well, I think I could just do this at home. You know, they're not giving me any special techniques that I'm aware of. No shade on physical therapists. But as time went on, I was becoming more capable. I was like, okay, I do need a physical therapist because they're going to give me tips on how to do specific things that are going to help me with like with my balance. So at that point, it was just, it's just like a workout regimen. And again, there were things that seemed very simple, but it would take me forever. They would be super tiring. America being what it is, insurance being what it is, it got to a point where my insurance was like, it's not really worth it anymore to keep paying for you to go to physical therapy. So I stopped going to physical therapy, but it's very important to me to work out regularly. So now I work out at home because I want to keep challenging myself, and hopefully, who knows how long it's going to take. But I mean, regardless, I'm going to do it the rest of my life. I'm going to work out.
The last episode that just aired, Taya Parker, she was in physical therapy, and the insurance company was saying that we don't know if it's worth it for you to, they wanted her to settle at a wheelchair level. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how that's kind of, both of you kind of had that experience. You're like, insurance, you're trying to justify it to insurance. Like, so how do you, like, what do you feel like when you're like being told, I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if you're like,
it was sad because it's like it felt like they were saying like I had plateaued and there was no way to get any better than I was at that moment. Yeah. And I don't really accept that. Like, I think now looking back, it's really complicated because again, my brain was very foggy at first. I don't remember anyone ever emphasizing to me how important it is to do physical therapy when you first get out of surgery, because I think that is like when your body is most capable of healing. Like, it's just easier for it to get back into the sync of things. So I wish that I had worked out even more when I first got out of surgery. But I have found some great like online physical therapists sort of like, don't ever quit. You can always improve. So no matter how long it's been, just keep challenging yourself. So I still do that. Yeah. I still work out regularly, and I'm hopeful that I'll keep getting better. But yeah, just getting denied from insurance, it was mainly discouraging, and it's frustrating because it just feels wrong. To just be like, yeah, this isn't worth our money.
Yeah, it's so weird because
Yeah.
like I've been through different psychiatric medicines, and some insurance are like, no, we're not covering that. I'm like, but it's doctor recommended I take this medication because I'm having some symptoms, and it's just
Mhm.
like, so it's interesting how they could just say, we don't want to do it. You're
Mhm.
not again, because that left me feeling like, what the fuck? Like I'm trying to get help. I'm trying to get healthy. I'm not just wasting your money. Like
It's wild, yeah. No, they know better than the doctors apparently. And like the doctors, they do try and fight for people,
mhm,
but yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do. And it had been so long, like it had been a year or 2 years since my surgery, when insurance was like, we're not doing this anymore. So I was like, okay, I mean, I could just do this at home on my own. Definitely not as effectively, because again, the physical therapist knows specific movements that you should be doing to help you improve. Technically, I had 3 surgeries because I had a craniotomy, and then I had the shunt placement, and then I had the second craniotomy. The first surgery was so different. It went so differently. I was on morphine for like a month. Because I was on morphine, I didn't feel motivated to eat, so I lost a bunch of weight,
right.
which was a different struggle because I was too thin at that point. And then going into the second surgery, I was like, oh gosh, well, I need to be mindful of not doing that again. There was no reason for me to be on morphine after the second surgery because I wasn't in pain like I was after my hemorrhage. And yeah, they put me on steroids because my brain was swollen after the second surgery. And I guess that helps for some reason. And yeah, it is no joke. Like when they talk about young boys having like a growth spurt and being insanely hungry, I was insanely hungry. I was vicious. I was an animal. I cannot exaggerate how hungry I was.
Oh.
And since I was like, my brain wasn't totally there, I was just like shameless. I was like eating like an animal. Yeah, so I put on a bunch of weight, and of course I was in bed a lot, so I was also not moving. And my parents, they knew I was going through a hard time, and the only way they knew how to help was to bring me food all the time. Yeah, I didn't really realize how much weight I had gained until I got home, and my clothes didn't fit the same. I realized that I had stretch marks.
So
Mm-hmm.
3 surgeries technically, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when was the last one?
It's been 2-3 years now. So yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that kind of perfectly leads into, how would you describe your life today compared to before all of this?
My life is different in pretty much every way I can think of. Like I said, I was working in an office before this. Now I'm trying to be an entrepreneur, and I'm still working on that. When this all first started, I was with my ex boyfriend, and I had been with him for 10 years. I finally was like, this obviously isn't working. So now I'm engaged to my fiance now, Cameron. And I mean, thankfully, I still have like my main girlfriends that I had before the surgery and now, and my family's always been there for me, so that's fine. But those feel like the biggest differences is my job and my relationships, and also just the way I approach life, prioritize things, I think is very different. I do feel like I'm pretty much the same person. Like if you just like saw me at the supermarket and you haven't seen me in a while, you'd probably be like, oh yeah, that's Shy. Like I think my personality is still pretty much there, but I do put my energy more into like trying to find something meaningful about life now. And I think my concept of what is meaningful about life is different from before the surgery.
Yeah.
So I would like to think that I'm truer to myself now.
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, and it's interesting how you said like someone sees you at the grocery store, and it's still me, And I think when a lot of people think about having brain surgery and getting a part of your brain cut out, like they think, will this change your personality? Will this change body function, movement, XYZ. But you're here saying that, yeah, for me at least, so
I mean, there was anxiety around me of like, how is Cheyenne different before and after the surgery? It's been a long road for me. Like, I really hated people thinking I was different, but I mean, I am in some ways. I think in the most important ways, I'm still like the same person, and I'd like to think in the ways that I've changed, that it's been for the best. And for some people, they will be different, and it's subjective whether or not that's okay. It would depend on the situation. But even if it wasn't the surgery itself, just going through that experience, you know what I mean? That changes you. But yeah, for me personally, I think it's all for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you had a brain surgery and if you are different, please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, I would be really interested. I've heard stories like that. Of course, they're always like the sensational kind of stories. Typically, I'll try and reassure people. There was a girl, I don't remember her name right now. She had reached out to me and she was like, I think I might need brain surgery. I'm really worried about what's going to happen to me. So I looked into it a little bit for her, and I was like, okay, from what I'm reading, usually it's brain trauma. Like if you have an accident, that's more likely to change your personality than brain surgery. So if you need brain surgery, I think your personality probably is going to be pretty much the same.
Probably.
Probably.
I like that.
I'm not a doctor. But if you change, hopefully you feel good about that.
Yeah. I mean, these experiences would change someone.
Yeah.
And in life, you're supposed to change also for the better.
Definitely.
For the better.
Yeah, I'm older now. I've got more experiences, so inevitably things are a little different now.
Yeah. And this is I'm clipping this part out because this is just me and her. So Jacob editing in the chair. I was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
You don't think this belongs in the video?
No, but there's a part she might have to sacrifice herself to, vampires go away forever.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'm only 16, I'm not like, I don't want to die. It's just interesting. Like, fair. And I'm just trying to think like, you were 25. I can't, like, I know, like, this episode is I wasn't expecting it to be so like on the nose about death, but like this is
there was no other way it was gonna go with talking to me.
No, I mean, this is important, and this is like, I mean, that is the experience you had
mm-hmm.
Near-death experience, and you had things going on, and you had to face some realities. It's interesting. Maybe I'll keep that in. I don't know. If we're short on time,
you're the artiste.
if it somehow works, I don't know. When you see someone in their 70s, 80s, and they pass away in the obituary, you see the obituaries, you're like, there's a little more like understanding.
Yeah, you're like, this kind of makes sense.
But like seeing, someone young pass away who, I went to school with, I'm becoming that age now. Like, mm-hmm. We're actually, like, I think I'm 31, so we're the same age. Just seeing that, it's like, it really grounds you.
Yeah, it always feels tragic. I wrote obituaries for a while, and sometimes it would be someone who was like 42 or 37, and whenever someone that young passes away, you're always like, what happened?
Yeah.
It does feel very unnatural, of course, when someone young passes away. So you always have to wonder what happened, or if they had any foresight, what was that like for them. Yeah, but I do encourage people to think about it safely, not obsessively. I know people don't like to think about it, but that has been one of my biggest takeaways from this experience, is like, since death was so on my mind, I would try to talk to people about it, and I would see them just totally recoil, and they felt so uncomfortable. It was a bummer, because I was like, I feel like I have no one to talk to about this.
Yeah.
Which, if you didn't know, have you heard of the Death Cafe?
No.
It's very cool. You might want to, who knows, maybe you'll interview someone from there at some point. But so the Death Cafe is a local, basically it's like a social club about death. And people get together, and they might pick like a topic for the day, like we're going to talk about medical aid in dying or something like that. And it'll be like a group of people will talk. Sometimes they do presentations, or they have a guest speaker. They'll come in and they'll talk about something specific. So Death Cafe was sort of my first retreat where I was like, okay, well, here's a space where it's okay to talk about this, and that was very helpful. But you do have to go digging. Like if you're feeling grim and you want to talk about it, it's hard to find someone to talk about it with. That's a good resource. I really recommend people do that.
That's awesome, because there are going to be people who have that realization, I am going to die one day.
Mm-hmm.
And they need those resources, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to, because it is that truth. It's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we will all have our time. So, but you need to be able to figure out how to cope with that, and cope and understand, and I don't know, the many stages that if there is grieving, if you are grieving that, or whatever, you got to feel the emotions. You need to have those resources.
I agree, totally. Yeah, I do pride myself on being a safe space in that sense. Like if somebody is having a moment and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to talk about this. Like anybody could come to me and talk about it. I don't mind. But also going forward, like a big part of my my entrepreneurial journey has been, how am I going to incorporate awareness about death into my business? And that's been really hard to do, because a lot of feedback I get when I try and go to like a coach or someone or a peer, they're like, maybe you shouldn't make it so depressing. And I'm like, I hear you, this isn't fun, but I think it's really important. Yeah. I'm trying to find a way to fill that void that I think is out there of people not feeling like there's enough resources to confront death. Because when I was thinking about death, I felt like I had nowhere to go. And even when I was looking into it, like a lot of the books you read, they can be so depressing. I always think about, like, you know how they say a lot of comedians, they have like depression or some sort of mental illness, and some comedians really hate that stereotype, so take that with a grain of salt. But I always think about that as, if you have that darkness within you, you can combat it with light. You know what I mean? Things can only ever be as bad as they are good, in my opinion. So if you're dealing with a lot of really tough things, I think there is the other side of the coin where you're like, well, I can turn it on its head and I could have just as much happiness as I am having sadness right now.
You said you consider yourself disabled. What does that word mean to you personally, and what stigma do you think there is that other people need to let go of?
It's a good question. I mean, first I would say, like, being disabled, I know you know this, but it's different for each disabled person. So I would say if you meet someone with a disability, like, you have to find out what that means to them first. Like, don't go off of what I say. To me, being disabled basically just means, like, there are some things I can't do that are harder to do. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I still live a full life, but I have to do things my own way. I have to find a way around it. And a stigma that I would like to take away from it is that being disabled, yes, it can be difficult, but it's not innately bad. I see people get very uncomfortable around, or especially like when I was more disabled at first, people would be very like uncomfortable around me. They would not know how to act around me. I think honestly it was out of like the kindness of their heart of being like, how do I accommodate this person? What do I do? How do I make them feel comfortable? But I could feel them being uncomfortable around me, and that was hard to deal with. So just like know that you don't have to feel bad for disabled people. I think that when you feel bad for a disabled person, you are robbing them of their joy. They might have a really great life.
Right.
You don't have to feel bad for them all the time. So yeah, just treat them like a normal person.
Right.
Radical idea. You want to consider that they might need accommodations.
Right.
Things might be different for them than they are for someone else. But I think they, for the most part, just want to be treated like a normal person, have like the average human experience.
That's so true. Like, it's just, and that goes for any kind of physical disability. Like, you know, like also like people feeling apologetic towards you for being disabled. Like, you know, I dated someone who was deaf, and the first thing that people would say to him when he's like, you know, like, they would be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and he's just like, why are you sorry? Like, you know, I'm just saying, I don't know what you're saying, you know. And it's just, It's the apologetic, oh, you're different, sorry, I didn't mean, I don't know, it's just interesting.
Yeah, people, they get flustered, and it's like, I don't even totally blame them. Like, if you're in a situation you've never been in before, you don't know how to act in that moment. But I think a good like rule of thumb is just like defer to them and be like, okay, well, what do you need right now? Like, what
Yeah.
would be helpful? And see what they say, because of course I can't speak for everyone. And some days, honestly, some days I have a different attitude than others about it. So I mean, just check in with someone and see what would be helpful for them in that moment.
I like that. What might work for person A might not work for person B, you know?
Yeah. Or if you're like me, if I'm person A, then on day one, I might feel differently than day two.
Yeah, and that's a thing.
And
Yeah,
I'm
you're
sorry to switch up on you. But yeah, I don't know. Just as long as we could feel comfortable and have a conversation, it doesn't have to be so complicated.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like you said, that you might feel different one day. You might have the energy to do something today, you know, and might like, what if you were really exhausted today and couldn't do this interview? Like, I wouldn't hold that against you, you know, because
Thank
I'm a
you,
normal
yeah.
person.
And it could also just be like my attitude. Like
Yeah.
some days I'm more optimistic than others.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's like, you know how sometimes you're in a bad mood and you're like, you know what would really help my bad mood? Some ice cream.
Right.
Or another day you're in a bad mood, you're like, I need a cuddle, or something. Like, it just depends. It depends on the day,
Yeah. What did this whole experience teach you about control or the lack of it?
That's a good question. What I've learned is, like, for the most part, we don't have control over our lives, and I know that's really scary, but in a way it's very freeing, because I've always been someone that tried really hard to take control, and I'll be honest, I still do. But sometimes you take a step back and you're like, I don't have control over this, and you could kind of just, I wouldn't say absolve yourself of responsibility, because that sounds bad. I mean, you should be a responsible person, but it helps you let go a little bit of, like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
What do you value now that you didn't before?
I think before, and I'm still working on this, I had a very specific idea of, this is how you have a successful life. And to some extent, it was a little bit, I don't want to say shallow, because I've never been a materialistic person, but it was a little like superficial, a little surface level of like, this is how you live a successful life. Now, I'm more so like just trying to accept the fact that things aren't always going to turn out the way I expect. And it's not necessarily about the thing itself, it's about how it makes you feel. So, like, I had certain expectations for my relationships, for my career, and it was not panning out that way at all. And it was very hard to let go of that. But now, now that things are different, I realize that the way I'm living my life now is truer to me than the way I was living my life before.
So, what do you hope people take away from your story?
I thought you would ask me this, and I had an answer in my head earlier. What I hope people take away from my story is, I hope that people can just try and live their lives true to themselves and confront the hard stuff more and get comfy with hard stuff. Getting comfortable with hard things, it could make the easier things so much easier. It could make the bright things so much brighter. I just think it's better to do it sooner than later. Definitely confront those things that you're struggling with head on.
If someone is going through something similar right now, what would you want to say to them? They might be feeling alone.
Gosh, if someone's going through something similar, I would say, like, you're not the only one who feels that way. So I have, my personality type is, I often feel like I'm the only person that feels a certain way, which is actually kind of rude of me. It's very dismissive of the other people who have felt the same way. And I've learned a lot over time that all of the isolating feelings that I have had, other people are feeling that way too. And it might be hard to find them, but they're out there. And they might be hiding because they feel like they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But they're out there. I mean, if you feel comfortable, I would love for someone to be able to come to me and talk to me. But yeah, no, if you're going through something similar and you're feeling isolated, I hope in the least you could just give it some trial and error. But I would really encourage people to go on that pursuit and just have a community and find people who can validate how you feel. There are healthy and unhealthy ways to deal with things, but there aren't right and wrong ways to deal with things. You know what I mean? Like when I was going through everything I was going through, I think people felt like I was handling it really well. I think it's just because I'm like, I try to be an organized person, but of course I was struggling a lot. So I don't think I was necessarily handling it well. I was struggling a lot on the inside, and when people congratulate me on doing well, I almost felt like more alone because I was like, oh, they don't know that I'm not doing well.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, deal with things in your own way, on your own time, and hopefully you have people around you that will accept you as you are. If you do have to crash and burn for a while, that's part of the process. Feel free to do that. And if you're dragging it out too long, hopefully you have a friend that helps get you back on track.
Right.
But it'll come in phases. There's no right way to do it, so
There's no
just
manual.
yeah. So just do things your own way, and it'll ebb and flow. You'll go in phases. So
Yeah, there's no right way
yeah.
to do things. Like that's one thing I'm just like, I wish I had a manual to figure this out, but
Mhm.
like there is no one size fits all. You're like, even in recovery or people with addictions and stuff like that, like what works for one person will not work for the next person. So figure
Mhm.
out your what's the word? Regimen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
figure
got
out
it.
your regimen, figure out what works for you because
Mhm.
ultimately it's your life and having that control again.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to say is I know your theme for your series is resilience and strength, and I sort of touched on this already. But like when I was going through everything I was going through, and people would say, "Oh, Cheyenne, you're so strong." First of all, I felt like they were, just shining me on. They were kind of BSing me. They were patting me on the back, and they were being nice, but I wouldn't accept it. Like at the time, I felt like, okay, I'm not strong because I didn't choose the situation. It's something that just happened to me. I never would have chosen this, and I have to deal with it. And believe me, if you were going through it, you would deal with it too. You would have no choice. So I never accepted people saying that I was strong while I was going through it. But now that it's years later, I get up every day and I think about how am I going to make my life better? How am I going to redeem this tragedy that I've experienced? That's a big part of how I live my life now. In my career is trying to redeem what I went through so that the worst thing that I've ever experienced could somehow be the best thing that ever happened to me. So because of that, and I've been having that commitment, and even now, like it hasn't come to fruition yet, but I keep faith that it will come to fruition one day. So because of that commitment, and because of how I am acting on it now, how I'm choosing to act on it, I feel like I'm a strong person now.
You were then too. You were definitely then too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't go through that and not be a strong person, and could have just faded away. You could have.
Yeah.
But I think a part of you was always wanting to survive, you know what I mean? So.
For sure. Yeah. And believe me, like I had my dramatic moments. But yeah, no, I made it and I'm here.
And so many people are glad you're here. I'm glad you're still
Yeah,
here.
thank you. No, and I'm so grateful for the people that still celebrate the fact that I'm here. And I have to, like, every year I have to get like an MRI to check on my brain and see if the tumor ever comes back. So it does sort of like loom over me, like it literally hangs over my head, literally and figuratively. Yeah, no, it does make you move differently when that is like on your mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it could drive some people crazy, and I'm thankful that I did not go insane. Which if someone did go insane, like you're totally valid for that. That's fine. But yeah, no, I at least I kept my wits about me.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah.
Awesome.
I want to make a point of saying that I'm very lucky. I'm very thankful for my friends and my family. Um, they have been there for me throughout the whole thing. And I mean, I talk a lot about wanting to live and that drive to live, and that's because I had something to live for, and it was my friends and family. They really saw me through the whole thing, so I'm very thankful. I mean, I want to thank you for making a space to talk about this because, like I've said, people are so uncomfortable with these conversations. So I'm just glad that you made a space for me to talk about it because it drives me crazy sometimes, feeling like this is on my mind a lot and I don't really have an outlet for it. And I understand that my friends and family, they might not want to talk about it because they care about me. So it's personal to them to talk about me dying, because it's
Right.
depressing for them to think about. So it's like you can't talk to a stranger about it because that would feel weird unless you're at the Death Cafe. Death Cafe is great for that. It's easier to talk to a stranger than it is to talk to your own friends and family, and I don't think that's a slight against them. But ultimately, what I'm saying is thank you for coming and being brave and talking to me about this because I know it's a really heavy topic.
No, like I'm happy to do this. Like this is like I care about people. I care about, obviously, you read the guidelines and stuff before, contract stuff. Nothing crazy, but I care. This isn't about exploiting people. This is actually about creating genuine conversations and helping the generic, phrase, helping people feel like they're not alone. But there's so much truth to that. There's so much power in these conversations, and I'm just glad that I'm able to do this. I'm glad that we were able to connect like this, and I'm
Me
excited.
too. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot. I feel like it's been a long time coming, but I like what you're doing, so I'm excited to see you keep doing it and see like what else comes out of it. I've been a fan for a while.
Yeah,
So.
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being part of this.
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah.
These have been Stories Told with Care. Until next time, thanks for watching.